Barbara and I had both shared versions of the Cropsey legend as it filtered through our separate neighborhoods and seeped into our collective fears.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 real-life horror documentaries.
She believed that she communicated telepathically with Slenderman, and that once the communication began, that she had to do what it was that Slenderman demanded.
For this list, we'll be looking at intense documentaries which cover subjects belonging to the horror genre, including the paranormal, urban legends, and true crime, among others. We'll only be including documentary films, so no miniseries. What do you make of the subject matter? Let us know in the comments below. Number 10. Hostage to the Devil.
The truth is, whether we like it or not, the devil does exist.
Regardless of your belief in the paranormal and the possibility of demonic possession, Hostage to the Devil still has the power to creep you out. Back in 1976, Catholic priest Malachi Martin published Hostage to the Devil, a non-fiction book about his alleged role in various exorcisms.
We did not talk an awful lot about his exorcisms, except the last one. I kept asking him not to do it, and he kept saying, well, I'm only going to be an assistant.
A documentary about Martin and his work followed exactly 40 years later, featuring some creepy stories and archival footage of Martin himself. It might just make you a believer, but even if it doesn't, it still makes for an apt companion piece to your favorite possession movies.
Exorcism then is a healing, and it's a very horrid healing, but it does heal.
Number 9. The Cheshire Murders.
The first officer observed 2 male subjects exit private residence and also observed the private residence fully engulfed in flame.
Released on HBO, this documentary explores a tragic home invasion that occurred in Connecticut in July 2007. 2 men, Stephen Hayes and Joshua Komisarjevsky, broke into a house, burned it to the ground, and killed 3 of its occupants. The criminals were ordered to be executed, but these sentences were later commuted to life in prison. The crime itself was sensational, but it also resulted in a fierce debate regarding the death penalty in the state of Connecticut.
When I heard that the legislature was even talking about, even considering abolishing the death penalty here in Connecticut, and I'm beginning to wonder, do I have anything in common with this state anymore?
This harrowing and informative documentary covers the subject well, and it's sure to captivate anyone with an interest in this specific case or true crime in general.
We certainly have been criticized over the years that this is vengeance and bloodlust, but this is really about justice.
Number 8. Hell House.
Well, Clarice, in the last 17 days, about 10,000 people have visited this controversial Halloween production. Controversial because of scenes like this.
Directed by George Ratliff, Hell House follows the members of a Texas church organization which puts on a haunted house attraction called Hell House. This attraction serves as an elaborate sermon, as the church hopes to convert individuals by scaring them with horrifying and realistic visuals. This isn't a typical haunted house attraction with ghosts and monsters, but one with shootings, abortions, and drunk driving accidents, among other things.
So the main reason we're here today is to come up with new, what new twist can we do on a drunk driving?
This documentary is a fascinating glimpse into not only the disturbing and controversial attraction itself, but also the religious organization that puts it on.
Hold them. They won't start the scene till you get the people in. You want to take this next one, or you want me to go in?
I'll take it if you want me.
Go for it.
Number 7. Beware the Slender Man.
Police say the suspects were inspired by a character on a website called Creepypasta, a site filled with scary stories. Now, the story they followed was about a character called Slenderman.
Slenderman was arguably one of the most famous urban legends and creepypastas of the 2010s. The subject of YouTube videos and video games, Slenderman captured a nation, and his popularity eventually resulted in an attempted homicide. HBO's Beware the Slender Man informs viewers about the Slender Man-inspired stabbing of 2014. In May of that year, 2 girls stabbed their friend nearly 20 times, reportedly to satisfy the fictional creature.
Did she cry at all at any point during your interview of her? There was no emotion from her at all.
The documentary thoroughly examines not only the incident itself, but the role that folklore and myth have in our society, and the ways in which they can manipulate the manipulative. It's an interesting true crime documentary that expounds on the scary stories that we create and share with each other.
No one could hear my deathly screams. The palest man, the blackest suit, bigger than the tallest brute.
Number 6. A Haunting in Connecticut.
The house seemed almost too good to be true. Everyone was crazy about the idea.
This is presented less as a traditional documentary and more of a docudrama. Dramatic reenactments are shown over the narration and interviews, although the subjects have been blacked out to keep their identities secret. The story concerns a family who move into an old house and begin to experience malicious paranormal activity. Sensing the danger, they eventually call Ed and Lorraine Warren of The Conjuring fame to help cleanse the house.
My husband Ed and myself are called in on cases dealing with all aspects of the paranormal, from a human haunting to an inhuman haunting.
Lorraine appears as an interview subject, which is fascinating for those interested in her story and the general history of paranormal research. It's a great story, and the documentary was such a rousing success that it helped create an entire television series, not to mention the 2009 movie of a similar name.
The knowledge that I gained was that you have true evil in the world, and you have true good, and you have a choice.
Number 5, The Nightmare.
I began hearing voices and screams and crying and all of this really emotional drama.
Rodney Asher's The Nightmare is all about the terrifying sensation of sleep paralysis. Not necessarily a bad dream, sleep paralysis is a lucid state between sleeping and waking in which the sufferer is conscious and alert but hallucinating horrifying visuals. The experience is generally harmless, but it is known to be quite unnerving. Asher's documentary explores the sensation while interviewing those who suffer from it. Along the way, Asher stages various dramatic reenactments with the hope of visualizing the interviewee's surreal experiences with sleep paralysis.
I figured she had a sleep terror or something like that. And she's telling me that on her chest, she saw something on her chest, a cat with red eyes.
Blending creepy stories with haunting visuals makes for a winning documentary, and it garners enormous sympathy for those regularly suffering from the affliction.
Whereas before I felt like I was maybe, learning and exploring and it was like kind of fun, it stopped being fun.
Number 4, The Donner Party.
They took 6 days starvation rations apiece. They called themselves the Forlorn Hope.
A legendary historical tale mixes with high-quality PBS programming, resulting in a thoroughly engaging documentary. Released in 1992, The Donner Party recounts the story of the titular pioneer group who became stranded in the Sierra Nevadas and resorted to cannibalism. Not only is the story utterly absorbing, but the documentary is meticulously assembled. It displays old artifacts rescued from the party, including personal letters that are read by professional actors.
We must proceed, regardless of the fearful outlook. Eliza Donner.
Maps and modern footage of the trail also help orient viewers in the geography. Finally, the film is narrated by 2-time Pulitzer Prize winner David McCullough, who does a wonderful job conveying both the horror and the almost mythical quality of the tale. For those who can stomach it, this documentary comes highly recommended.
Somehow, William Eddy got his dying companions to sit together in a ring and pulled blankets over them. A canopy of snow quickly covered the starving group.
Number 3, Titicut Follies.
Now you give me the same story again. We are going to help you. It's just that, may I ask just why I need this help that that you are literally forcing on me?
I'm not forcing anyone.
Obviously.
Arguably one of the most disturbing documentaries ever released, Titicut Follies certainly has its place in the histories of both film and journalism. Shot by John Marshall and directed by Frederick Wiseman, the documentary depicts the horrific mistreatments that occurred inside Massachusetts' Bridgewater State Hospital. The patients are neglected and filthy, many are forced to go without clothes, and some are violently force-fed with a tube. The film was shot without any cinematic bells and whistles, as Marshall and Wiseman simply walked through the hospital and shot what they saw.
The principle is that I am here, obviously well and healthy, and I am getting ruined.
As if the subject matter wasn't distressing enough, the unconventional filming style lends the documentary a very eerie and unsettling atmosphere. It's a historic film that's still worth watching today.
Well, Vladimir, as I promised you before, if I see enough improvement in you.
But how can I improve if I'm getting worse?
Number 2, Cropsey.
Growing up on Staten Island, Barbara and I had often heard the legend of Cropsey. For the kids in our neighborhood, Cropsey was the escaped mental patient.
This is a genre-bending documentary that finely balances elements of true crime, mysterious urban legend, and courtroom drama. The directors set out to uncover the truth about Cropsey, a supposed criminal who abducts young victims. He's said to live underneath Staten Island's Willowbrook State School, an old institution for kids that closed in 1988. The urban legend blends into reality as the filmmakers tell the story of Andre Rand, a kidnapper who's believed to have abducted numerous victims throughout the 70s and 80s.
After the largest criminal trial in Staten Island history, Rand was convicted of kidnapping.
The documentary expertly untangles the mystery of Cropsey while also theorizing on the blurred lines between urban legend, oral tradition, and reality.
It was becoming harder for us to tell the difference between the facts and the folklore.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into settings and switch on your notifications. Number 1. The Act of Killing.
Ya, malah ini barusan dengar, Bapak tak tahu. Saya heran, karena biasanya kita punya pekerjaan itu bukan kita sembunyikan sama orang kita. Kalau Bapak sampai nggak tahu, saya heran.
Produced by legendary filmmaker Werner Herzog, The Act of Killing is a very provocative documentary, both in its subject matter and its style. And through its provocation, it is utterly devastating. The subjects are some of those responsible for the Indonesian mass killings of the mid-60s, in which the Indonesian army and armed death squads executed between 500,000 and 1 million people.
Pernyataan maaf terhadap itu belum ada. Sebetulnya apa sih beratnya? Pemerintah yang menyatakan maaf, bukan kita ini apalah.
Front and center is perpetrator Anwar Congo. The stories these people share are obviously gut-wrenching and intense, but the documentary also provides accompanying visuals. Director Joshua Oppenheimer invites Congo to reenact the mass killings through film, and these sequences are stylized through different genres. An experimental approach blends with terrifying subject matter to create an unforgettable documentary for the ages.
Saya tahu bahwa kerjaan itu salah, tapi saya harus melaksanakannya.